It's 2025. I've been making videos on YouTube for nearly 4 years and everything's changed. I'm now obscenely wealthy. I'm just about to buy my second Lamborghini and I don't know what to do with all my free time. Not. The last few months have been tough. There have been some amazing moments, but I want to be totally transparent and show you what it's like behind the curtain of a small YouTube channel going into 2025. We're going to talk about the money, the algorithm, the sponsors, the free products, all of it. But more than that, I want to talk about the state of YouTube reviews right now. Let you in on a few pitfalls to avoid and ideally have a conversation around what you're looking for from me in 2025. So hi, I'm James and this is Rising 8 Minis. There were lots of reasons I made this channel back in 2021. Hi, welcome to Rising 8.
Emotional, damn it!
Partly it was just because I couldn't sit still during COVID, but the big two were I love sharing what I know with other people, working collaboratively, sharing ideas, growing together, having fun. In fact, if every comment under one of my videos said, "Thanks, this helped me a lot," I'd be a very happy boy. But the other big personal one for me was I was lonely during lockdown and there wasn't anyone to hobby with in my local area. So I decided to do something about that and build a community of people who all cared about the same things that I did so we could all grow together. And to date, that's my proudest achievement. My Discord, the library, is a fun place to hang out. It's packed full of people who are way more knowledgeable than me, who I really respect. And then in 2022, following the opening up after lockdown, I started hosting miniature painting workshops, allowing people from all over the world to come and paint and socialise together in person with some of the biggest miniature painters in the world. So as well as getting to host my hobby heroes, I also got to meet loads of you too. And that is one of the very best things about YouTube. Connecting with people from all over the world who share a similar passion. If you want to know more about that sort of stuff, I've linked it down my newsletter below, but I'm not going to go on about it here. So at its heart, Rising Ape is a channel about making and sharing and learning so that we can motivate ourselves to do what we love, but better. But if I'm being completely honest, if I can do what I love and make a little bit of money, that would be great. I've talked about this before, but I work in the charity sector, which in the UK isn't the best paid, but I still want to provide for my kids, have a nice house, buy things I like and just enjoy life. I'm not complaining, I've got a good quality of life. But like most people, I'm always striving for a little bit more and I'm not afraid of putting in the long hours and the graft to get it. So that leads us to where we are today. And I'm proud to say that 2024 was my most successful year on YouTube ever. But how successful was that? Well, together we've built a community of over 200 people. I've hosted 3 in-person painting workshops, grown the YouTube channel to just over 10,000 subscribers, focused in more on reviews, particularly on 3D printers, met some incredible people, and worked with so many amazing brands from all over the world, which is pretty good going. I haven't always got my videos right, and I find myself constantly questioning if what I'm putting out is what you're expecting, so that's why comments down below always help. But I've also had to deal with the elephant in the room that probably all adults have to face at some point, and that is money. And all the complexities, guilt and compromises that go with that. When I tell people that I make videos on YouTube, it's one of the biggest questions I get asked, so let's deal with that right now. Money's an emotive subject on YouTube and you are right to be skeptical about its influence on creators. We don't talk about it enough, partly because it's a taboo and partly because when you do talk about it, it's hard not to seem like a complete bellend. The truth is there are no big secrets here and I'm happy to share this sort of stuff if people are interested in it. So let me know in the comments if you are. So I started the channel in 2021 and I didn't make any money at all for the first 2 years. I started making money at the end of 2023 and I got my first sponsored videos in December of that year. So 2024 was the first year I actually made any real money on YouTube. I make money directly from YouTube from 3 main sources: ad revenue, affiliate links and sponsorships, as well as a couple of off-platform revenue streams which are kind of tied to YouTube, and those are Patreon and painting workshops. From ad revenue in 2024, I made $2,224 from around about 800,000 views. My most viewed video was this one, which made me around $415 from around 195,000 views at the time of recording. but on average I make around $150 a month from people watching my YouTube ads. I received $1,855 from sponsored ads, and of those, one of those was a fully promotional video and the rest were just ad slots slotted into my main videos. And finally, around $1,000 in affiliate sales. So $1,000 of revenue from that, although I have got a little bit more income coming, but I haven't actually received it yet, so I guess that'll have to be in next year's video. So from YouTube, that's a total of $5,079. Off YouTube, Patreon made me around $440, and workshops made me around $7,500. And that brings my annual income up to $13,007. So I'm pretty close to that Lamborghini now. Except, to host my website costs $200. The workshops cost just over $7,000 to run. I spent over $1,000 buying materials for all the videos, adding camera equipment of $600, various software like Adobe Creative Suite for $400, and Motion Array for $250, and it starts to add up to $9,450. I've also made another big change this year. In an attempt to free up some time, I decided to purchase an editor. Editing is by far and away the thing I spend most time on my YouTube channel on, and I probably spend about 40 hours a week making videos on top of my full-time job. So in order to be able to actually see my family in a week, I decided to pay a video. But I don't want to try and screw some poor editor by underpaying him, so for each time I employ an editor on one of my videos, I pay $250. That's still a bit cheap, but it's the most I can afford. And almost every time you see a sponsored ad slot in one of my videos, all the money from that segment goes to paying that editor. It's not a money grab, it's me trying to free up time to spend with my family. Editing in 2024 cost me over $1,200. So that brings my total expenses for the year to $10,650, which means in 2024 I made a grand total of $2,357, or $112 a video, or $56 a week, depending on how you break it down. So it's lucky I'm not doing it for the money, but if you do want to support me, the best place you can do that is over on Patreon, where you can do so from as little as $4 a month. So now you know where I get my income from, I want to explore some concerns that I've seen from viewers, either on my own comments or in the comments of other channels I've watched. And I want to put my own theory forward for discussion. So let's keep this conversation going in the comments. Let's talk about sponsors. We all hate adverts. That's a given, right? And now YouTube is placing adverts every seemingly 15 seconds. It gets harder and harder and harder to watch videos. Now I do my best to avoid them, but as I say, I do need sponsorships at the moment in order to pay editors. Hopefully that'll change in the future when I can make the finances work, but I'm not there yet. For me, sponsorships come in two forms: paid ad slots and free stuff. The first sponsored product I had on this channel came after 2 years of making videos and was a Kikoni EC2 3D printer, a $200 kid-friendly printer which I was sent for free. This was swiftly followed by a laser cutter, and since then a steady stream of new tools, from lights and paintbrushes to printers and resin. But let's be honest, the reason companies send me stuff is so that they can sell more stuff. Ideally, in their world, they send me some stuff, I like it, make a video, you like it, and then buy some more of their stuff. That's what they want to get out of it, right? Well, what I want to get out of a video is I want to feel useful. I want to try out the new tools, find something interesting to talk about, and then share that with you, so that you find that interesting and helpful, and it helps you hobby better. That's what I'm trying to do. I don't really care whether the company makes money or not, although if I can get a good video and they can get sales, then that's a win-win and I'm really happy. As I showed you before, I make very little money from affiliate sales, so it's really not my motivation at this point. Most of my income comes from my other job, not YouTube. My biggest fear is not keeping you guys happy. If you guys decide you don't like me and then decide not to watch the channel anymore, 4 years of hard work goes down the toilet. And frankly, I don't want to make videos that sound like used car adverts. It's something I really worry about. Quite quickly, when you have a review channel and start receiving products, getting products becomes quite normal. Just sort of run-of-the-mill, day-to-day type thing. It's still cool to receive new printers, particularly when they've got cool features. But essentially, I have everything I need already, and I've got so many ideas for videos that I cannot possibly make them all, even if I had a lot more time. So my main focus is making the best video I possibly can. Now, I don't always get that right, but I'm trying. Bear with me. Sometimes that's the latest gadgets, sometimes it's a cool new feature I want to talk about, and other times it's because I've got a specific project in mind and I need a specific tool to make that work. The process of working with these companies is actually pretty simple. Once you reach a certain size and a certain number of views a month, companies start reaching out to you organically. They'll usually ask me to feature a particular product before a certain time frame, and as long as that time frame works for me, I'll say yes. I typically ask for a couple of months' notice, but as long as I can make it work in my schedule and it's something I'm interested in and I think you'll be interested in, then I'll generally make that video. The other way that happens is I'll have a specific project idea in mind and I'll reach out to a company that makes those products and say, hey, I'm thinking of doing this, are you interested? Sometimes they'll say yes, sometimes they say no, and when they say yes, they send me the product, I make the project, we release the video. It's pretty much that simple. Free products like that don't normally come with too many strings attached to them. Some that are very valuable want extra bits and pieces, like they want 2 videos, which I always say no to. Some want some creative input into the video, which again, I always say no to. And still others want a final review on the video before it goes live to the public. And that I usually agree with, because at the end of the day, I want it to be a collaborative process and make sure I don't say anything wrong or anything like that. If, however, that company turns around to me at the end and says, oh, can you just change this to make your product sound better? That's a hard no. That doesn't happen. A good example of this is the video I made about useful shit you can print at home, like the wall. And for that I needed an FDM printer, so I reached out to Creality and they very kindly sent me a K1C. I then made the video, which then bombed, but never mind. We'll talk about that later. But that's a really good example of a project-based video starting to happen. A good example of a release-based video is my Mars 5 Ultra video. You can go and check out those if you're interested. It works the same with ad slots. Companies will reach out to me and I'll offer them slots in my videos that I know are upcoming. If they agree, I make a specific ad for them and slot that into the video. I always try to make those ads fun and engaging and unique and pair companies that maybe work together. The ones I typically work with are things like desks and chairs, maybe cookery companies, shirts, that sort of thing. And I also reject lots of suppliers too. So recently I've rejected Temu and BetterHelp, as long as a numerous number of mobile gaming things, just because I'm not interested and I assume you're not too. Regardless of which sponsorship method I choose though, I'll always try and let you know in the video if I've done that. Usually it works out well. Sometimes, like the K1C video, it doesn't. And here's the point I think is really dangerous for you. When someone is trying to sell you something, or they've got a bias because they're making a sponsored video, you can really easily identify that and just work around it in your head. What's harder to work around though is the sort of bias that comes from being forced to amp up your video for the algorithm. Let me put that in context. When a video bombs, for whatever reason, it may be a bad thumbnail, bad presentation, people just don't like the topic, whatever, the risk is the creator, who has already taken a bit of an ego knock, will turn to fake drama to amp up the views and the clicks. As a smaller channel, I really struggle with this one. In fact, every creator I know really struggles with this one. And without question, every creator I know hates having to deal with this. It's not the fact that companies stop working with you when you get low views, although that does happen. I completely get that. Creality stopped working for me for 6 months after my K1C video just because they didn't get the performance they needed from me. Fair play. It's the following a poor performing video, the entire channel sees a dip in views. Even videos that were performing really well before will drop away in views and subscribers and revenue. And if you rely on your channel as a main source of income, it's devastating. It's as if YouTube somehow turns off the taps. In reality, it's not that simple, of course, but you get the metaphor. The reality is, very few people in the world understand how the algorithm works. But one thing is definitely true. On YouTube, views are everything. Forget being paid to say stuff. The main bias on YouTube is not to say nice things to appease sponsors, but to hyper-sensationalize content to drive clicks. It's a serious problem. Everyone, myself included, is caught up in this weird little YouTube game of hunting for an angle to talk about to drive clicks to their video. So what you end up with is some videos about products which sensationalize it and say it's the best product ever. Other videos about the same product which say it's the worst product ever, when in reality it's kind of a bit of both. But that's more boring to talk about, isn't it? Fail to get that right and the video flops, meaning all your work and all your money is just down the drain. Which is why video creators like me work so hard to get your attention. And if you're watching this video, thank you. I appreciate it. The best example of this from my videos is my Hey Gears Reflex video, which I titled The End of 3D Printing. It's my most viewed video, which just shows this sort of stuff works, but it's also one of my most divisive and the one I get the most negative comments for. The video, if you don't know, is about a new type of 3D printer that came to the market offering a different type of printing solution to one that already existed. So I stand by the title of the video, but I'll fully admit that, yeah, it's a bit over-sensationalised. It definitely generated clicks and views. In fact, it's just over 195,000 views at the time of watching. But it also made my audience quite divided and led to lots of hostile people jumping into the comments who just didn't agree with the basic premise of the video. In fact, most of those people stayed long enough to write an angry comment and then left. Thanks. So it can become quite emotional quite quickly. How do we fix this? No idea. My best bet would be to ignore thumbnails completely. Actually, don't get me started on thumbnails, because I really hate them. So many amazing videos get buried behind awful thumbnails, and so many great thumbnails hide terrible videos. I know, I've made some. If I could make one change on YouTube today, it would be to get rid of thumbnails somehow. Oh, and shorts. Shorts can do one. So, with that said, where does that leave us? It can seem that in 2025, YouTube is a more divided, less fun platform than it used to be. It's harder to trust reviews online, the videos are packed with more and more ads, and there just isn't enough time in 15 minutes to cover all the content that needs to be in there. So compromises have to be made. For my own part, I'm probably a bit too polite when I'm making videos, which leads me to sort of shy away from more controversial topics and sit on the fence a little bit, and for that I'm sorry, but that's just who I am. I'm not having the content that I put out there hurt other people for the sake of clicks. I'm just not doing it. I'd rather lose views to match the ideal. Other creators are more set up for that style of content, so I'll let them do that and I'll stay in my lane, thank you very much. I'll still call out bad products because that's essential, but I also recognise that the products for which I'm making videos about have real people in them with real families and real feelings, and I'm not out to hurt anybody. There's a way to frame this stuff that isn't just spewing venom. I don't want that. I'm always in awe of creators who aren't burdened by these sort of existential crises that I have wrapped around my head, that seem to be able to speak freely. But I think there's a risk that comes with that sort of content too. It's so easy to have a few successful videos and then end up sort of just believing your own bullshit. Your ego can really quickly get in the way, and that's a massive danger. So I want to ask you a favour. Can you keep me in check? If you see me spouting loads of stuff that you don't agree with, let me know in the comments, but do me another favour and do it constructively, because if you don't, you'll just get deleted. No one's got time for that shit. I think what we put out into the world has an impact, and I want my impact to be a positive one. So going forward on this channel, my goal is to focus on making Rising Ape into a fun and interesting place, the best place you can spend your time on YouTube. I want every video to show you something cool, every newsletter to share something interesting, to give you a reason for reading it, and I want my Discord to be chock full of great people, painting, drawing, sculpting, printing, and most of all, sharing with each other. There'll be more live streams, more competitions, more incredible reviews, and more in-person events. But the most important thing for me is that I want my little corner of the internet to be a place where people can come and then leave feeling a little bit better. Thanks for listening to my TED Talk.